Just for the benefit of the recording, I'll start over. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the California Virtual Campus Online Education Initiatives, Improving Online CTE Pathways speaker series on developing and strengthening online career education. That's a mouthful. All right, well, today we have live captioning available for this webinar, and you have two options. Option one is directly in Zoom. On the Zoom toolbar at the bottom of the window, choose the More button and select Show Subtitles. Option two uses a second browser window, which allows you to search and highlight. If you want to use option two, open a new browser window and paste the link that Donna has put into the chat. All right, so a little bit before we start about the Pathways project. For those of you who are not familiar with the Pathways Grant, the California Virtual Campus Online Education Initiative, or CVC-oei, funded 70 grants at 68 colleges. CVC-oei has awarded a total of $27.5 million since the grant started last July 2019. And the funding has come from the California State Legislature by way of the California Community College's Chancellor's Office. Now, the goals of this project are to develop innovative online programs in career and technical education, specifically to lead to short-term industry valued certificates or credentials or programs. And the second goal is to enable a student in a pathway developed by the California Online Community College, or CalBrite, to continue his or her education in a career pathway offered by an existing community college. So we're doing this webinar series around a variety of themes, and on the next slide, you'll see that today's theme is child development. I'm your moderator, Kevin Kelly. I'll keep things moving along. We'll have a variety of speakers. We'll have 5 to 7 minutes to present, and we're asking you to enter your questions in the chat when you think of them, and we'll answer them all at the end as time permits. And any questions we are not able to answer, we'll make sure we get that answer to you. Let's see. Now, today we have three groups. Kelly Miller from Los Angeles City College will talk about their online innovation project. Jennifer Azaro from San Joaquin Delta College will talk about 3 new certificates they've put together. And Davina Burns-Peter and Margaret Worsley from San Bernardino Valley College will share how they have spotlighted child development success. So let's get started with Kelly. Kick us off, please.
Great. Good morning, everybody. As I was introduced, I'm Kelly Miller from Los Angeles City College. And when my dean approached me about this grant, I started really thinking about how we could improve our pathways for students and remove barriers from their progress. At the start, we only had 4 of our classes online, partly due to lack of faculty training and interest and a bit of philosophical pushback. If you'd like to do the next slide, please. So immediately I thought about some of our career pathways, and I thought about our special needs certificate and our pathways to getting the master teacher certificate and permit and the site supervisor certificate and permit. And the 2 classes in special needs would serve as one of our specialization choices for the master teacher permit. So of the 5 courses, which I listed over on the right-hand side, we chose to work on, we've been seeing lower and lower enrollment on campus. We've been offering them in the evening or on Saturdays because many of the students who enroll have finished their AST or their BA, and they're usually out working in the field, and they're getting to a point where they really want to take the next step in their careers. So offering the classes online removes the barrier of having to come to campus outside of work hours, and also taking away time from family and other responsibilities. So we really just wanted to remove barriers and really try to get more participation and give more opportunities for our students who are out there working in the field to move forward. So one of the things we really needed to do is get some buy-in, as historically there's been a little bit of pushback from our CD faculty, worried about what it would mean to learning in such a relationship-based, hands-on field as child development to put these classes online. And another concern that kept coming up is the worry about students taking online classes would be able to use more methods of academic dishonesty to pass their classes because they would be open to more resources to do that. So what we wanted to do is really just create these online pathways to increase enrollment, which in turn will increase the number of students who are able to get their permits and certificates and then hopefully better jobs. Next slide, please. So during the duration of the grant, we had four faculty were trained in online pedagogy and Canvas. 3 faculty attended the online teaching conference working toward improving their instruction. We actually went above the 5 DE addendums. We did 7 that were approved through our college curriculum process. 7 course shells were created and evaluated by our DE committee for quality. And the first 2 were offered in spring of 2020. And we offered CD 39 and 45 for the first time. And one of the things that, if you look at some of the statistics, I wanted to really see, you can see from spring 19 on campus to spring 20 on campus, we had a significant increase in enrollment, especially our CD 45. It filled with a wait list, so we opted to make it a large online class so we could serve more students. One of the other things that we thought was interesting is the retention and success rates were very similar between on-campus and our online classes. So yeah, that was just something interesting for us. We also developed CD 30 and then later CD 31 to provide another specialization for master teacher. And then I forgot to put on the slide, but we also created a new class, our CD 172, which is careers in child development that we're offering for the first time this semester online. So what was exciting is we saw really great, if you look at the classes we're offering for the first time online for fall, CD 38, 44, 30, and 31, we have a substantial increase in enrollment. So we're very excited to look at, we're going to be jumping into our program review soon, and we're very interested to see, you know, the success and retention rates, and then further, how many more certificates our students are able to qualify for. What was also exciting is that 2 of our faculty who were sort of on the fence about online learning, they went and took the CVC-oei's course design rubric training this summer to become peer evaluators. So that was really exciting for us as well. So what do we want our students to know? We see you, we hear you, we've made it easier for you to advance your careers in ECE child development, and we are increasing access, removing barriers, and now have robust online courses to prepare you for the next level. And we were very thankful to be part of this grant, and that's our project in a nutshell. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kelly. And I ask everybody, if you have questions for Kelly about her initiative, we're going to save them to the end, but put them in the chat now while you're thinking of them, while it's fresh. And then we will move on to Jennifer Azaro and San Joaquin Delta College.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, I'm co-presenting with Angela Bayer, who is our child development instructor and really the subject matter lead on this project. So she's going to go over the first couple of slides and then I'll wrap up with the last one.
Perfect, thanks.
Thanks, Jennifer. So my name's Angela Bayer. I am a professor in early childhood education at San Joaquin Delta College and the discipline chair for education and early childhood education. The things that we were looking at, we serve a lot of students. Our child development program, we serve over 2,000 students every single semester and year in all of the courses that we offer. So when looking at what we could do to better serve our particular population, moving things online, like our previous presenter said, had some philosophical differences as a discipline, but more importantly, we have a majority of students that they're working. They're now, because of COVID, dealing with their children at home. And so what we did is we ended up creating 3 different certificates fully online. And actually, because of COVID, we expanded these certificates to include and develop more classes. So the 3 that we developed was an associate teacher. This is that intro where they get their first permit within the permit matrix. And we're actually pairing this with our high school, within our district, our high schools, so that seniors in high school could start these classes, because before they weren't being offered online. And now they can seamlessly start in high school, and by the end of their first semester starting at Delta, they would be eligible for a job right away. Then we looked at our adult supervision. Most colleges have an adult supervision certificate that pairs with earning their permit. And we found a lot of individuals were not getting that because the classes weren't offered online, and they just, between their work and their job in the field, they weren't able to move forward. So we took the 3 courses that are required, and we created an add-on certificate that it was specifically designed for people working in the field. And then it just gives them their 3 necessary courses in administration and adult supervision. And so those courses were offered online before, but they were completely rewritten for this particular grant. And then in our education program, we did a paraprofessional, and we also have a lot of child development individuals that work on this so that they can get in the K-12 system because they're interested in below 3rd grade teaching. So through the entire thing, we actually wrote, with the extension all the way until December, we will have written 11 courses in our child development. 6 of them were like vamp ups, updated, making sure that we're accounting for more access to internet things and accountability, such as teaching technology and being able to do things like that. And then we also wrote 5 brand new courses that were never taught online for our college. And then in our education, it was a total of 5 written courses. Only one of them had been taught online, and it had only been taught online because of COVID. So it was 5 different courses, again, for a total of 16 courses that in the year, and technically a year and a half because of the extension, we were able to write and update to get our entire program fully online through this grant. And then Jennifer is going to talk a little bit about the stuff we did as a college as well, besides just writing all of these courses.
And you're on mute, Jennifer.
Sorry. I believe Angela touched on some of our accomplishments that are on this slide. So could we advance to the next one? So I was the instructional design lead on this project, and part of my job was really improving faculty preparedness for online teaching and getting everyone up to speed on the OEI course design rubric, as well as implementing a local process for peer online course review. So in accomplishing those 2 goals, what we did was we created 2 specific training courses on our local campus, a 3-week fully online course just on regular effective contact that adheres strongly to section B of the course design rubric. And then we also created a 3-week class on the entire rubric, sections A, B, C, and D. And we offered those to our faculty. We had several of our child development and education faculty who are involved in this grant take those courses. They've been a huge success. We have 4 sessions of our own local OEI training happening this semester with 100 seats, and they all filled within a couple of weeks. So the other need that filled on our campus was the need for accessibility training. So in that 3-week course on the course design rubric, it goes really deep into section D on accessibility, which was just a huge need that we had on our campus. And we've been able to make all of the courses in all of the courses that Angela mentioned under this grant accessible. And one other thing that we did was we brought guest speakers onto campus. So we had James Galapa Grossklag come and talk about OER. And we had several experts throughout the state come to our campus and talk about online pedagogy with our faculty. And in doing all of this work, we are really ramping up our local poker process. We did put together a team of 11 poker reviewers who all went through the OEI training. And in putting together a team, one of the things that we learned, one of the takeaways, was that you really want to carefully select the individuals to be on your poker team if you are starting this process on your campus. So we were sure to get buy-in from our CTA president who was on our team. Several members of the academic senate are on the team, in addition to our adaptive technology instructor, who's our accessibility expert, who's been a huge help in assisting us in reviewing the classes for Section D compliance. So I think I'm just about out of time, but that just wraps up a couple of other accomplishments in the training and poker areas of this project. So thank you, everyone.
Well, no, thank you, Jennifer and Angela. And again, I'll remind our participants to pop any questions in the chat so that we can send those their way when we get to the Q&A session at the end. But now it's time for Davina and Margaret to take it away and tell us all about what's going on at San Bernardino Valley College.
Absolutely. So I'm Davina Burns-Peters, and I'm happy to share some of the excitement that we've had around child development and our CTE Online Pathways grant. Before I begin, I do want to recognize my co-lead in all things distance education at San Bernardino Valley College, who is on the call with us today, Margaret Worsley. This is not work that I have done on my own in any way, shape, or form. So I want to recognize my partner in all things DE. That being said, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Maybe the next one, there we go. So starting out with inspiration, the formatting got a little off here, but that's okay. We had lots of inspiration, and Kevin has already talked about the overall goals of the grants themselves. The statement of need in terms, so we looked at this in terms of why were we inspired to look at child development. We looked at it because it fit one of our needs of taking programs that were partially offered online and wanting to move those into a fully online pathway. So I keep using the word pathway, but that's how I see it. I see it as a process of taking students from beginning to end in an online format and allowing them complete access that way rather than having those gaps. So child development was one of those programs. At the start of this grant, they were at 71% of their program was offered, their degree and their certificate was offered online. So that left approximately 29% of their courses not being in that format. And you can imagine the challenges that would provide for a student who was looking for or not able to complete that in an in-person environment. The other way that it met the grant's needs is in terms of the unconventional lab solutions, because child development with its observations and the field work that needed to be completed certainly presents its own challenge and had not been done in an online format at all prior to this. And so as a result, we've got a statement of project goals here, but really looking at the relevance to students, wanting to increase their student success rates as they go into these online programs, making sure that whatever we do offer them is of quality. And in order to get that quality, we needed to increase training with faculty and create a local poker review process. And we wanted to make sure, again, to allow those students that if they start a program in an online format to complete that program online as well and not leave them with those gaps. Next slide, please. So we can talk about hurdles all day long, right? There's lots of hurdles to be had, and these were a few of ours. But the ones that I wanted to point out primarily is specifically in terms of child development, how they applied to the child development program, was the foundation that needed to be built. Prior to really reaching any of our goals, there was quite a bit of foundation that needed to be laid in terms of training of the faculty. We did not have a formalized training process in place prior to the grant. And we are excited to say that we now do. So we'll talk about that more on the next slide. Not yet though. The other thing is the paradigm shift regarding online instruction, right? While that 71% of online courses in that child development prior to grant represented faculty who were willing to teach online, we had some who either were not interested or did not have the experience or the training to be able to do so. And so we needed to get their buy-in, and we also needed to help them see that we could transition those labs into the online environment. Next slide, please. So we have a success story, and so we have two categories here: keys to success and unexpected outcomes. Honestly, the key to success in this particular program was getting buy-in by a key faculty member. It really, and I'll name her. Her name was Kathy Adams. We cannot contribute enough success to her. She really owned the idea of moving the program to a fully online format, to the point of her sabbatical project, which occurred during part of our grant process, was focused on bringing courses into alignment with the course design rubric, and to bring the program into an online format. So she really took the reins on this one, and we just were there to support her and to provide her with feedback. As the process continued, she completed both levels of our newly established training, as well as went on to get her POCR training with CVC-oei as in preparation for bringing her courses into alignment. And in fact, one of her courses is now part of our local certification process. So we're going through local certification. We're really proud to say that we now will be establishing a local POCR review process. We've established that and are looking at the norming process, and one of her courses is part of that. And it's done quite well so far. Other successes is just getting faculty across the department trained. We have all 3 full-time faculty in that department have taken our level 1 training, and we have had 12 adjuncts in that department, which is a majority, have taken our level 1 and level 2 trainings, as well as have moved on to level 2, and we have 3 of those adjunct faculty also going through the local POCR review process now in anticipation of being quality badged, which leads us to that there was a lot of collaborative work in that department, again, facilitated by a key faculty member, to the point that they are now sharing resources amongst each other. There has been a Canvas shell created with the intent to make that an OER Canvas shell to be shared across the system. And if that happens, we will be sure to share. That being said, as I wrap up, I think some unexpected outcome to note is that the faculty have noted that the students are really connecting better, having deeper understanding of the material. And that's partly because the way the courses are being presented in the online format. And the faculty are really excited about the resources that they have discovered, and the fact that they know that they can actually do labs online, and that's really exciting. So we're pretty much out of time. There are 2 more slides to this that can be shared, just talking about what our looking ahead looks like. We have full faith that we're going to be able to have quality badge courses across the degree, and to have a fully and complete online pathway for our students in child development in an institutionalized way that will be not a probability, but a possibility. And so thank you for allowing us to share some of our successes.
Thanks, Davina. And it seems like you might be first up for the Q&A session. Vanessa Bailey asked, would love to hear what type of unconventional lab options you offered for the online course, as this is something we are grappling with. And I know a lot of campuses are in the same situation, so share what you can.
Right. So that's a good question. Right now, they're using a lot of video resources, and that's actually an ongoing process for us. So in the time of this, epidemic or pandemic, I should say, not epidemic, during this pandemic time, they've been forced to just kind of do what they can, and as we all have. And so we've supported them that process for them by encouraging them to utilize some of the video scenarios, things like that. They've been able to create online formats to have them observe in a video format and then respond and reply to certain things. However, that's an ongoing process. We just had a discussion this week about how to push the limits of Canvas in terms of the use of quizzes and having them utilize video clips within quizzes. And because one of the concerns as well, in real life, they have to respond to how a child behaves or a certain interaction, like immediately, that, in an online format, they can watch that over and over again, and that's not real life scenario. And so we're looking at how do we push those limits of Canvas and setting some of those time parameters to allow them only X number of time to respond and to make that more real life. And also looking at the implementation of, not Studio. It totally slipped my mind right now. But anyhow, looking at other implementations and continue to support them with that. So that's an ongoing process is my short to long answer.
Okay, great. And we have a question for San Joaquin Delta College. You've gotten some great buy-in for your local poker team. Does your campus offer fiscal incentives for that poker?
Yeah, so we were able to offer $500 stipends to our poker reviewers who reviewed the classes under this grant for these 3 certificate programs. Moving forward, we will be looking into continuing stipends for faculty who are not only reviewing courses, but also doing the work to align their courses and get them reviewed.
Thanks. And Kelly, we've got a question that's a little more general for the whole panel, but we'll start with you. After the pandemic, whenever that may be, for fully online programs, how are you and your colleagues thinking about providing students with classroom experiences, observations, and the like?
Well, at this point, we don't have plans to have our program fully online after the pandemic. There's some specific classes such as our curriculum and our practicum classes that my faculty do not want to continue offering online after the pandemic. So, but what we are working on right now is, one of the things I forgot to mention is that through this work, we realized we had recently made our infant, toddler, and special needs certificate. We changed them from skills certificates to certificates of achievement. And now we realize that they can be done fully online. So we're working towards making those starting with making those 2 programs fully online.
And do you anticipate that there may still be demand for online options for students who need that flexibility, either for time or for distance?
Absolutely, yes, I think so.
So it might end up being more like a hybrid flexible where you can come to class or go online?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, we've got about 2 minutes left. Any other questions from the audience? And Donna, I'll invite you to hop in if there are any logistics or any other information that we need to share about the rest of the series. So speaking of the series, you can see here on the left that the webinar series will continue after today. Tomorrow we'll have auto, aviation, construction, and pipe trades. And then next week on election day, we'll have social services. And Wednesday, we'll have social media, media, and design. And then we'll have quite a few more after that: professional development for faculty, quality course design, local poker, which has been discussed today, online teaching and learning tips, and online marketing and growth. In some cases, some of the grants have chosen or have been selected to write blog posts rather than webinars. And then there is a small number of grant projects that were featured in video vignettes, and we've got that link right here on the slide, and we'll pop it in the chat as well. But we have appreciated everybody's participation. I see that there's still some comments and questions going on in the chat. We'll make sure that they get to the right people. But if you have any questions about the Pathways Grant Program, you can send them to grants@cvc.edu. And then we will see you all tomorrow or next week for the next ones in the series.
Kevin, could you repost the video clips?
You bet. We're gonna
Really quickly, or put
yes,
it in
if
the
we go
chat.
back
Yeah.
one slide.
There you go. Okay, great, thank you.
There, I popped it in the chat so you can copy and paste.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, everybody have a great day and thanks for joining us.
You.
Thank you.